We're gonna go over the strength movements that I make sure my athletes get in at least once a week. If you get these movements in once a week, you will move the needle, you will get stronger. For example, since I was 13, I wanted to be, or younger, I actually started in 3rd grade, I wanted to be a high-level football player, take as far as I could, all of the pros. Okay, and one of the things I discovered was at the combine, they were gonna test the 225-pound bench press max. All right, so one of my goals, along with being able to rep that as many times as I could unbroken, was increasing my bench press max. Okay, so if you can bench press 500 pounds, 225 is gonna be nothing. You're gonna crush it. And I didn't do anything other than chest day, right? Bench press once a week. With a small asterisk, you know, depending on the sports I was training for, we would do other conditioning elements like burpees and push-ups. But as far as the heavy strength work goes, once a week on these movements will do the job if you do it effectively. Okay, I'm not gonna go too much into programming today. I'm just gonna go over the movements that I feel are a must do. It's how I create freaks. Okay, it's how I helped my boys close the gap on world-class wrestlers, even in youth wrestling, because they started when they were 8 years old, and by then their rival already had 2 state championships under their belt. They already had the fundamentals down, and their rival was destroying my boys, okay, in the state of Tennessee. Fast forward 4 years later, we closed the gap. Okay, we took out our rivals. All right, now my boys are #1 in Tennessee. Okay, in their age group and weight class. And one of our secrets is what I'm gonna show you today. These strength movements are a necessity. With my method, how I focus, how I categorize things in my mind is there's 4 macro categories. You have skills, strength, engine, and monster is what we call it. Your warrior spirit, your tenacity, your willpower, your mindset. All right, that's that 4th one. There's a lot that goes into that. The skills, which one is super important because you basically, as an athlete in a sport, you have 2 categories of skills. You have your fundamental movement patterns. Those are your squats, lunges, your lifts, like your deadlifts, your cleans, and your pushing and pulling, like your presses and pull-ups and rows. Those are important skills that are catastrophically overlooked by people that are just not in the know. Okay, for example, a squat. Let's look at Andrew real quick. We're gonna start with the legs. All right, a squat is essentially a fundamental movement pattern involving the hips, knees, and ankles. Okay, we're going to flex them completely, and then we're going to extend them completely. That's all a joint can do by itself. It can flex completely, extend completely. Extend completely at the shoulder, flex completely at the shoulder. Now, when you combine joints, you get some funky looking movements. But when you break it down into its parts, all that joint is still doing is flexing and extending. For example, if we do a leg extension, that looks simple enough, but we can do leg extensions in the form of a squat or a lunge. So go ahead and squat all the way. All right, notice there's a couple points here. We want a neutral spine at all times when we're doing our movements. Doesn't matter what it is. Deadlifts, cleans, squats, overhead squats, neutral spine. All right, and knee and toe alignment. This is huge. All right, this is a fundamental skill that kids don't have, and you see it a lot in wrestling because they line up with their knees buckled in as soon as they start a stance. They're like that. They get down like this. And when I see that, if I was a betting man, I was like, my boy's gonna destroy him. I can tell right away this guy doesn't have mastery over fundamental movement patterns, which is could easily be the deciding factor. Now, there's a caveat, all right, in wrestling. You do get kids that get a head start. They know wrestling moves. So they're essentially pulling off tricks that overcome their deficit in mastery of fundamental movement patterns. However, as soon as their opponent closes that gap, they learn those wrestling moves, and my boy has mastery over these fundamental movement patterns. That's when my boy passes them. That's when you're creating freaks, because you're combining everything together. Okay, so back to the squat. There's only really a handful of fundamental movement patterns, and one of them is the squat. So we get these in once a week, and I go ahead and have wrestlers go ass to grass. Okay, that's sport specific. If you're a football player, if you're a power lifter, Olympic lifters will go all the way down. Football players may not require them to go all the way down. What we're looking at is the hip crease to the knee. And I want that hip crease to at least go past the kneecap a little bit, right? Because what we have to master is closing the knee, closing the hip joint, and then opening it. Go. All the way up, go all the way up, all right? That's open, come down, close, and keeping those knees aligned over the toes, keeping the feet flat, keeping a neutral spine. All of these things at the same time makes a better moving athlete. All right, so back up, knee aligned, open, open, close. All right, this seems very simple to some people, very obvious, but it's just like anything else, like throwing a dart. Seems very simple, very obvious, but you can master it your whole life and get better and better. You never stop getting better. All right, so let's go over to the bar. You've got your back squat. I'm just gonna quickly go over these strength movements. It's not gonna be a full clinic on each movement. You're gonna put it on top of the traps, but not on the neck, okay? Keep the blades pinched. Go ahead and pick it up and back up. Put your feet where they feel comfortable, right about shoulder joint width. If I draw a line from the shoulder joint, it should hit your ankles. In general, you may go 1/2 inch wider, 1/2 inch more narrow, depending on your hip girdle. Okay, go ahead. Squat all the way down, knees out, good posture. Come all the way up, feet flat the whole way. We're looking for balance between the toe and the heel. That's a skill, balance. You'll see bad squatters, they'll immediately tip forward and onto their toes and the heels come up. Do one of those. Now squat. That's bad, that's what I'm looking for. Keep those heels down. Okay, now push up. Should be even foot pressure throughout the whole foot, throughout the whole squat. Buckle the knees inward, try to get an angle over here. Okay, see those knees coming together, they're not aligned directly over the toes. That's weak. All right, push the knees back out and then squat down. Keep those knees out and keep them out on the way up. Okay, go ahead and rack it. Constantly see wrestlers deviate while they're moving around on the mat, and they'll stand like this. I don't know why. I think it feels good, but this is weak. This is not stable. They adapt to it. They get pretty good at doing it, but this would move the needle in improvement. This would make them better, more stable, stronger, faster mover. Because you got to keep one concept in mind, which we're learning in the weight room, is economy of motion. If the bones aren't aligned perfectly, then the muscles can't move perfectly, and you lose efficiency. It's one way to think about it, right? Got it? Okay. And then you got your front squat. Nothing changes. All you do is roll those elbows forward, create a shelf here. If the elbows come down, the shelf disappears. It's hard to hold. You break your wrists. So lift those elbows up as high as you can. Create a good shelf. Go ahead and pick it up. All the cues are the same. Flat feet, knees out, good posture. Go ahead. Crease of the hip passes the kneecap, come back up. Do a couple more. Same way every time. Full range of motion. Close the joints, open the joints. Go ahead and rack it. All right. And get a lot of pushback on depth of squat. Kids, coaches, they don't believe in going that low, breaking parallel. There's a lot of myths which don't hold any salt. Okay, you're not gonna hurt your knees going that low. You're not gonna hurt your back. Okay, I've been doing it since I was 13. I'm 42, living example. All right, come over here, bud. And also, you have to train the range of motion that you're gonna need. All right, do a slow motion double leg shot. Go, freeze. Notice how his joint is completely closed at the knee. His hip is closed, his butt is on his ankle. Now stand back up and do a squat. Notice how his knee is closed, his butt is on his ankle. So it comes up in the sport. All right, so people are like, well, you never squat like that on the mat. It's a lie. There's always the opening and closing of every single joint completely in the sport of wrestling. Maybe not the case in like football when you're on your feet and running around, you're not taking shots, but it will happen. So from there, once a week, we're doing heavy front squats, heavy back squats. Once a week, and that'll look like a 5-3-1 or a 5-5-5, and it's just 3 to 5 heavy sets. Often they're literally heavy as possible. We have a record board over there, and we've got little, where are they? We got little fractional plates. So if they did 95 pounds on their front squat last week, they're gonna do 96 pounds on their front squat this week. They're gonna continually progress and move the needle on brute strength. So if you look over here, we have the categories of the handful of heavy lifts we get in. Now there's all kinds of movements we'll do. We'll throw them into our conditioners, burpees, box jumps, the ski, rower, bike, runner, med ball stuff, all kinds of stuff we'll do. Spin drill on this heavy bag is a thing we throw into our conditioners. That's a strength / conditioning movement. But as far as the must-dos weekly, it's just right here. All right, this will cover all your bases and make you strong, brutally strong. Okay, next is the posterior chain. These are what I call just lifts. All right, you're lifting the barbell in a clean snatch or deadlift motion. You could also be using a different implement like a med ball or a sandbag. The Olympic lifts is a huge course by itself. Deadlifts, the points can be outlined fairly quickly. Go ahead and grab the bar. All right, you want your, stand up. You want the ankle joint right below the hip joint, so you don't want to go super wide on these. You want your wrist joint right below your shoulder joint. You don't want to go wide with the grip. For example, snatch grip is really wide, and that's a very difficult deadlift. You won't be able to deadlift with a snatch grip as much as you can here. One reason is it hits lower on the thigh. You don't have to pick it up as high. So deadlift is, in its shape, like come to the side, and its shape is the same as a squat, more or less, but you're not going all the way down. So go down to mid shin. All right, stop at mid shin. Okay, you got slight forward lean. Bar is under the back of the shoulder right here at the crease. Okay, bar is against the shins. Bring the bar in. Go mid shin, hold it. Good posture. Feet flat, knees over the toes, in line with the toes. They're not buckled inward, all right? And then the first motion is actually pushing these shins back. So come up, stop at the kneecap. Okay, you're just pushing those shins back. Get them out of the way, all right? Keep the bar under this crease right here the whole time, under the chest. And then just drive the hips forward. And you're done with the deadlift. Go back down to mid shin. Come up to the kneecap, push the shins back. All right, now drive the hips forward. That's a deadlift. Go ahead and sit down and relax. Are you worn out already? Yeah? Just quick points on that. We can do a whole clinic on each movement. I just want you guys to see the most important points of performance that I'm looking for as I'm walking through critiquing each athlete. The clean is another deep rabbit hole. I'm not going to go over all those points of performance. And then the snatch. But they belong in the same category as, in my mind, as training the posterior chain. Okay, you need a strong backside as any athlete. All right, not just wrestling, you know, football, tennis player, doesn't matter. You need a strong posterior chain. And especially in wrestling, like more the better. Like I don't want your strength training to override other stuff you need to get done, but with whatever time you have available, pour it into your strength training. Get your wrestling skills done and then make yourself brutally strong. Backside, from the shoulders, from the traps, the neck, all the way down to the heels, the ankles, all right? On the deadlifts, cleans, the snatches, you're gonna be working that whole chain. Glutes, lumbar, okay? Mid traps, rhomboids, all of it. All right, you can do that all in one movement. I'm not a big fan of isolations. If you constantly hit these multi-joint movements, you don't need isolations. We never use them because we got a lot to get done. You don't have all the time in the world. You have to pour your time into the things that have the highest ROI, right? Between box jumps, running, squatting, wrestling, jump ropes, on and on and on, you're working the heck out of your calves. Like some people just love calf raises. I don't. I'll create freaks, I'll create world-class athletes without calf raises. And then I can have my athletes demonstrate that they have strong calves. We'll load up the bar and do a calf raise, and they'll do just as much on a calf raise as somebody else who isolates calves all the time. They'll still just be freakishly strong. Same with the arm day stuff. We got legs, we got posterior chain, working our way through. We will do one of these or all three in 1 week. Clean, snatches, deadlifts. Usually, I would say we get 2 in, and 1 might get left off just because the body needs some rest and it's taken a big beating already. And we don't need to hit the posterior chain again, all right? But we'll get 2 out of the 3 for sure. If you're a wrestler. Now, if you're different, if you're an Olympic lifter, a power lifter, or a CrossFitter, you're gonna need to do all 3. Okay, upper body is next. What do we need to get done with the upper body? There's 2 fundamental movements. That's about it. Pushing and pulling, all right? That I emphasize weekly that we must get done. We'll do all kinds of other different variations of these movements, but these are the basic ones. We're gonna open the joint all the way and close the joint all the way. The shoulder and elbow working together. Okay, so you have your bench press. And movements like this, I get a little bit of pushback. People will say it's dangerous for the shoulders. And there's a certain age that you shouldn't do it. They got all kinds of phobias, okay? If you do it the way I'm gonna show you, you're unlikely to get injured in the sense that you're probably more likely to get injured from just walking out your front door. Okay, there's no need to be paranoid about a bench press hurting your shoulders, okay? And the way that I teach it is we're gonna lift the rib cage. We're gonna take the top of the shoulder, which call this 12 o'clock. Okay, high noon, top of the shoulder, put a line right there. And I'm gonna point it into the bench in a downward motion. It's kind of a little bit of a decline bench. Okay, and then I'm gonna retract the blades completely, and then I'm gonna bench from there and not relax those shoulders. If I move the 12 o'clock on the extension, that's where shoulders get hurt, especially under maximal loads. So we're gonna retract, lift the rib cage, fix that, turn yourself into a block, a cement block, and then press from there. Touch the chest, press up, okay? So let's watch that in action. Go ahead and get set. When you set up on a bench, put your eyes directly below the bar so you don't hit the rack. Feet placement, you want your toes under your kneecaps. Dig your toes into the floor. If you're tall enough, put your whole foot into the floor, flat foot. That's kind of a preference, whether you go full foot or toes. And then grips slightly wider than the shoulder. All right, we're gonna lift that rib cage, retract the blades together, then pick the bar up right over the bottom of the chest plate. Okay, tap the chest plate and press it up without losing your solid position of your core that we just talked about. Don't lose it at the top. People like to do this when they come up, they give it a little punch. Don't do that. That's where the shoulders get hurt, especially when you got plates on there. A large load. Tap the plate, press up. Okay. Now with the elbow placement, you want to turn those elbows inward, then go down. All right. And just a little bit of space here is all you need. Come back up. Good. Tap it again. Go back up. I should be able to put my hand under here at all times. Should be a space. Tap again. Elbows in. Pop it straight up. Go ahead and rack it. All right, so we do the bench press because that's the heaviest press you can do. All right, when I started CrossFit back in 2012, we had to do some things that I wasn't, how should I say, I didn't do on a regular basis, so I wasn't that good. Okay, I wasn't that good going overhead. Typically, if I had my choice, when I was programming for myself, I'd hit bench press hard. I built that up to 400 pounds. That was my big press. Okay, and then overhead stuff would usually be dumbbells. I'd hit dumbbell presses. I'd do the unstable stuff, overhead, and then some endurance work with a barbell. But my goal was never to take the shoulder press to the highest max possible. Okay, that changed when I started competing in the sport of CrossFit, because they wanted to know how heavy you can go in every movement. Overhead squat, how many handstand push-ups can you do? What's the heaviest push press you can do for 1 rep and for 3 reps and for 5 reps? The heaviest thruster, okay? A lot of overhead stuff. But what came in handy is I already had a really strong, ridiculous chest press, which transfers to any press. Doesn't matter if you're doing dips, push-ups, overhead, the pressing motion is a pressing motion. It's a shoulder extension and elbow extension. Okay, so if you're good here, you're gonna be pretty good here. You just have to practice it a little bit there because it's a different skill, but you'll still have good strength to hit it with. So in no time, I took like, I don't know, say I was struggling with 225, and then I ended up with 255 overhead. But even 225 is really good for a start. And the reason I started there is because I had close to a 400-pound bench press. If you don't do these heavy lifts, the lifts that you can go the heaviest on, like there's no heavier press than the bench press. You can't go heavier in shoulder press. You can't go heavier in push-ups. If you want to be the most brutally strong you can be, you got to pick the lifts that you can go the heaviest on. And that's it. That's as straightforward as it gets. That's my philosophy. I'm gonna make you as strong as you can get by working on the heaviest lifts. So bench press is in there, and then you have the overhead stuff. All right, go ahead and grab that barbell, flip it to the shoulders, It's the same, should be a similar width with the hands that you have everything else right outside the shoulders. You're gonna press this straight up. What you wanna do when you're watching this is get a side view. You wanna keep the abs flexed tight. You don't wanna let the rib cage lift. And you wanna suck the chin in, skim past the nose, and go straight up over all your joints. Keep it centered over all the joints. Go ahead. So it should be a straight line at the top. So you come to the side, head is forward in a neutral position. It's a straight line between the wrists, elbows, shoulders, hips. Abs should be flexed, rib cage should not be lifted too high, okay? You shouldn't be arched too much here. All right, you should keep a neutral spine in that position. Bring it back down. Don't bend the knees, just press. Okay, straight up, that's pretty good. Be careful with the excessive back bend. All right, you want to keep the shoulder joint right over the hip joint. If you back bend, the hips are going to go forward, shoulders come back, you're out of position. Feet flat. Go ahead one more time. Straight up overhead. Beautiful. Okay, go ahead and set the bar down. So those are your, when you're going overhead with anything, those are your fundamental patterns that you're looking for. Okay, that's what I'm giving you guys today. Just quick performance cues, quick look at the patterns you're looking for. And these patterns, like I said before, are skills, universal motor recruitment patterns. Like I demonstrated before with the double leg shot, they show up. It may look different because that pattern only showed up in one leg while the other leg was behind. Okay, so it didn't look like a squat, but one leg was actually doing a squat. You got your push-pull, upper body stuff. We'll get a bench press in once a week. We will get some type of shoulder press in once a week, heavy, all right? Like I said before, that's just a few sets, 3 to 5 sets, heavy as possible, typically, all right? In general, 5-5-5, 3-3-3, a bunch of singles maybe, all right? Or we'll blend it, we'll do like a pyramid, like 5-3-1, 3-5. You know, you can mix it up, and it's a good idea to mix it up, keep the body progressing that way. All right, then you got your pulls. All right, a heavy pull, you gotta have that gorilla pull, especially as a wrestler. All right, you're gonna reach in, grab a leg, pull it in, don't let go of it. Maybe you get a headlock and you wanna pop his head off, okay? Throwing a leg, football the head. You're gonna take his head, squeeze the heck out of that thing, twist. You gotta have strong arms, strong pushing and pulling. And you want to have as freaky strong as you can get. There's no reason not to create that advantage if you can over your opponents. Okay, so let's show a rope grip pull-up for this. You can do all kinds of pull-ups. Fundamentals are the same. It's pretty simple. We're going to hit full extension at the elbow, and then we're going to close the elbow completely and try to drive the elbow to the ribs and close that shoulder completely. So get that chin as high as you can at hand level or higher. Go ahead. Boom. Okay, back down. All right. Notice full extension at the elbow, closing the elbow. Get that bicep closed, touch the forearm. Get the triceps to touch the lats if you can. All right, go ahead, do one more. That's a pull. And it doesn't really change when you go horizontal. It's still a pull. So your horizontal pulls will transfer to your vertical pulls. If I get really strong at a dumbbell row, like I got 100-pound dumbbells over there, I'm pretty good at them. Coincidentally, right, I can do pull-ups pretty good. Same muscles, same motion, same pattern. It's just I'm just moving the arm up to here. Still a pull, still a pull. Grab and you can do this with dumbbells or barbells. You can do single arm or double arm. Especially if you got a barbell, do it with both arms. Same patterns, guys. We want the feet at a good width, same as your squat stance. I'm gonna bring the butt back and I'm gonna keep these shins vertical. Put the hand on the bench lightly. Most of the weight should be in your feet. The bench is just there for a little bit of balance. All right, keep a neutral spine. Go ahead and do a couple. Bend those knees. Bend the knees, that's better, good. Down, all the way up, rip it to the chest. Rip it, okay. Rip it and drop it with a little bit of control. Don't just let it slam down. Okay, rip it, control it on the way down. Boom. Okay, and go ahead and put it back. All right, so what we're looking for there was the extension of the shoulder. We want to go ahead and let it sag a little bit, let it out of the socket so you can practice retracting that shoulder under load. That's super important, okay? Because if I get in and I get stretched out on a leg, okay, this is wrestling specific, I'm gonna suck that thing in, I'm gonna retract the shoulders, I'm gonna get it real tight. And once I got it to here, that he's done. That this is super strong, retracted, everything closed, this is weak, okay? But if I have the brute strength, because I've been doing this work, all right, I can go ahead and rip that leg in, even though it might not have been the best shot. Okay, it's kind of a cheat code. I got in, and it was bad, I was extended, but I was able to knee scoot and pull in tight and finish. We're gonna do a bench press heavy, we're gonna do a shoulder press heavy, we're gonna do a pull-up, strict pull-ups. If you get really good at your body weight, put a belt on, strap some plates to a chain, make it even heavier, okay? I built up to 3 plates or more, 45 pounds, and I'm 210 pounds. Anybody lighter should definitely be able to do that. And then the dumbbell rows. Those are a little different. You don't want to, with the pulling motions, pull-ups and dumbbell rows, you don't necessarily want to go 5-3-1s. I think the lowest I would go is like 5s, especially with the dumbbells. Like those hundos, I could do sets of 10, but it's a very tough set of 10. Okay, and that will do the job. I don't need to bust out 150-pound dumbbells. So those are the 3 main categories: legs, posterior chain, upper body. We're doing heavy squats, heavy lunges, heavy posterior chain work, deads, clean snatches, heavy push-pull work. All right, this is in addition to any conditioning we do and any wrestling we do. And this doesn't take long, guys. This is 15, 20 minutes of work. You're just focusing on that one movement, killing it, going heavy, getting something heavy on the body, heavy on your nervous system. It will move the needle, especially with all the other work you gotta do. Okay, no reason to do a bodybuilder routine if you're a wrestler. Don't pick 5 different leg movements and destroy your legs in one session like a bodybuilder. Bodybuilders and wrestlers have 2 completely different goals. Your routine should not look anything like a bodybuilder's routine, except for a few movement choices. And then you got hip flexion. All right, you got your sit-up motions, which you can go heavy on those. Those are more endurance. You don't have to worry about loading heavy plates and trying to do a sit-up. All right, just do GHD sit-ups and sit-ups on the mat, and that'd probably be plenty. Toe to bar, leg raise movements. All right, so this is not necessarily a heavy lift category, but we do get these in once or twice a week. With all the standing core movements you do, you're still developing core strength, even if you don't realize it. With deadlifts, you're still clenching and stabilizing. With front squats, you're still clenching the abs and stabilizing the spine. Anytime you're trying to maintain neutral posture under load, the abs are doing a lot of work. The idea of hip flexion movements is not necessarily ab strength. Believe it or not, it's more hip flexor strength. Being able to pull that knee up or pull your body up using the hip flexors. Okay, and it will hit the abs too. So that's it in a nutshell. You need, as a complete athlete, you need strength, skills, engine, and a monster. You need all 4 of these categories. And that's what my system focuses on. That's what my method improves upon on all 4 of those categories all year round. And I just wanted to, with this video, just wanted to show you that the strength work in the gym with the weights is not wrestling. Okay, you don't want to try to take wrestling and put it in your weight room. Okay, there's some things that wrestling does well in the wrestling room. Okay, so this is a piece of the puzzle. Okay, you got to have the strength, the skills, the engine, and there's overlap. There's integration of the 4 together to make a complete athlete. If you neglect one, that could be where you lose. Okay, there's no reason not to be as strong as you can while not neglecting other things. I don't expect a wrestler to be a power lifter, but I do expect some freaky strength. Like, I was never interested in having the strongest bench press or contending with a dedicated power lifter. That's a different sport. Okay, but with the extra time that I had outside of my wrestling skill training, football practice, I'm getting stronger. And it turned out I had enough time and enough energy, enough resources within my body. When you're talking about carbohydrates, creatine, whatever's left over after football practice, to push my strength numbers to the 1 percentile or better in the world. Okay, if you have a 400-pound bench press, you're in the 1% of the 1% when you consider all the athletes in the entire world. All right, that's freaky strength. Compared to a dedicated heavyweight power lifter is nothing. Those dudes doing 1,000 pounds. Okay, but those are 2 different goals. All right, 400-pound bench press is freaky in the wrestling world. Same for all the other lifts. I had a 550 deadlift. That is plenty. That's in the 1 percentile. 450 back squat. 380 front squat. Okay, 255 shoulder press. These are freaky good numbers without actually focusing only on those things and making those things my sport. I was still spending 2 to 3 hours on a wrestling practice or a mixed martial arts practice. And I've transferred that, and I've been able to replicate that with countless individuals, athletes, including my own sons, who do the same thing that I would have done, and they've reaped the benefits. Now they're the best in Tennessee. All right, so leave some comments, like the video, subscribe, ask questions, please. Let me know what you want explained further, okay, what you need from me to be the best you can be. This is for the dads and the coaches and the wrestlers out there. Please reach out to me if you need more clarification on something. Done.